Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Monday. It is August 3rd. It's 2020. We have 8 baseball games to talk about here on today's slate. Seems like we've had 11 to 12 to 13 games here recently, so a nice little 8-game slate to get us kicked off for this week. I'm joined by my good buddy, Cheese is Good, Dave Potts. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. It is good to be back talking baseball with you. I thought it would never happen again, but yeah, here we are.
Yes, excited that baseball's back. I know we were just chatting about it. We had some fun with esports when the pandemic and no sports were going on, and grown to accustomed to kind of liking it and had some fun with it. But definitely glad that we have baseball back. Basketball's rolling. Basketball looks a lot more promising than baseball at this point as far as finishing the season. So we'll see. We're just going to take it by day. That's all we can do. That's all we can do, right, Dave?
Yeah, and we got the hockey going now too, which I
Hockey,
like.
yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm hopeful on basketball and hockey at least. And I mean baseball. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll make it now. It's a mess, but we got it, and I love it.
Yeah, we just got to hope that things are changing, and it sounds like things are changing. Like, don't go out when you're like traveling. You guys are getting paid millions of dollars. Like, go play baseball. Let's talk some baseball. We're gonna start here with the Phillies and Yankees. Jake Arrieta against Garrett Cole. I was telling you before we got started, I feel like this is the hardest slate we've had since we've come back, pricing wise. Like, if we're looking at FanDuel, I feel like there's still mispriced players, but DraftKings today, it's really tough to build that solid lineup. Do you have any interest in Jake Arrieta in this one?
No, I mean you're going to need a cheap pitcher. This is not the one I think I can mess with. Like it's, he's obviously low upside always just because of who he is. Um, I'm fine with a low upside pitcher um, on slates like this, but not when they also come with this kind of power risk. I mean, it's just, uh, I'll go for almost anyone else. Give me some cheap pitcher, sure, but Arrieta against the Yankees, so much has to go right. I mean, it's not inconceivable that he can get enough ground balls from all the righties, but it's pretty unlikely, and I don't even think he's going to pitch that long. So, no, I'm pretty much out.
Yeah, my thing with Arrieta is like this dude throws his sinker a ton, like especially against righties. That's why he has such a high ground ball rate. That's why he induces so much soft contact. And when you actually start digging into like the Yankees against sinkers, they actually hit sinkers really well. Like they're not a fly ball hitting team, but they're a team that hits sinkers really hard. So I'm going to pass on Arrieta as well. Listen, I really was considering it. I was like, oh man, they're going to have like 6, 7 righties in this lineup, and Arrieta can at least maybe limit the damage. But I started looking into some pitch data and don't like it. Garrett Cole on the other side, talent wise, DeGrom and Garrett Cole are really high above. Well, I guess Bueller's up there as well, but we have 3 legit aces on the slate. What are your thoughts when it comes to Garrett Cole?
Yeah, like on a lot of slates this year, an $11,000 Garrett Cole would have been someone I'm definitely for sure playing everywhere as much as I can. But on this slate, I mean, it's really tough to even get one ace. Um, and I still feel like we don't know what Cole's going to do with the Yankees yet. I mean, we've seen 2 starts. One was cut short. Like he looks more or less the same. But we don't know if he's really going to be a 40% strikeout guy or a 30% strikeout guy. And if he's a 30% strikeout pitcher on this slate at 11K, he's not even really that useful, which is silly to say, but it's kind of true. I think you have to, like, a $600 difference between him and DeGrom on DraftKings. $600 is huge on this slate. So I will say he's the ace as far as points per dollar upside out of the aces. I don't think anyone would be surprised if he strikes out 12 guys. So yes, I love him, but I'm not going to just force him in. Like I don't feel like the first thing I'm going to do is lock in an ace and then go from there. It's going to be if I can get up there. I do think he's the guy I want the most, but I don't feel like it's neither he or DeGrom have like a fantastic matchup. I mean, they're fine, but so far, just kind of playing around with clicking some lineups in, I don't feel like these guys are anything close to a must play.
No, I think this is way different when you're looking over on FanDuel. Garrett Cole's the most expensive pitcher on FanDuel at 11K. Like, he's the guy. DeGrom's 10-7. DeGrom's a little bit cheaper. But when you're playing around with 11K on DraftKings, it's tough. You're playing around with 11K on FanDuel. It's not hard at $3,000 per player, and there's still some guys in those low 2K range that are underpriced. So I like Garrett Cole. I'm with you on Cole over DeGrom on DraftKings, and you guys all know I'm a DeGrom truther, but I think the matchup is a little bit better here for Cole. Like, we look at this lineup, there's plenty of strikeouts in this lineup outside of like Didi and maybe Segura. Let's talk bats in this one. Anything standing out to you for the Phillies?
Well, the only thing I'd say, we don't know how to value, but keep in mind the Phillies haven't played in a few days.
That's true.
And I mean, who knows? I don't know if they've been. I would assume they probably haven't even been taking batting practice. Like that,
they were quarantined, weren't they? They weren't even allowed to leave.
So I think they haven't picked up a bat until tomorrow. So I don't know that. Given that you don't really want bats against Garrett Cole anyway, I mean, sure, you're allowed to, play like a Harper or a Didi and say, yeah, he'll probably give up a home run. I don't think it's crazy to throw a lefty power bat in a tournament, but one, it's Garrett Cole. Two, I don't know when the last time this team, like, I don't even know if they've like jogged down the hallway. Like, they may have just been sitting on a couch long enough that I don't see any reason really to mess with them.
Yeah, there's plenty of bats on this slate. We're gonna get going here, and we're gonna have plenty of bats to talk about. Harper, Didi one-offs. I don't hate that. Didi, little revenge narrative for everyone that loves revenge out there, going up against the Yankees. But the Yankee side of things, like I said, Dave, I think they could potentially be a sneaky stack on the slate. I don't typically stack against Jake Arrieta. He's a ground ball guy. But I started looking into the sinker stuff, and Judge is one of the hottest hitters, if not the hottest hitter in baseball. And this dude, 47% hard hit rate with a 95 average exit velocity against sinkers since the start of 2016. So I like what I'm seeing as far as the data on sinkers, and I actually kind of like the fact that the Yankees are outside of Stanton and Judge, not too expensive. I'm not playing Sanchez anyway; he stinks.
Yeah, I am a little worried about him. There's almost nothing that will make me worry about a hitter, 5, 10 games into a season. But if you're striking out pretty much every time, yeah, I don't think you need to mess with Sanchez right now.
1 for 18 or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird how the Yankees are priced cheaper than some other teams. They finally brought Judge up a couple dollars, but he's still probably too cheap for what he's doing. Generally speaking, your first go-to would be lefties against Arrieta. Of course, the Yankees are so right-handed, but I do like Aaron Hicks. Who knows what their batting order is going to be on any given day, but Hicks should be in the middle. I love that. Yeah, basically Judge, Torres, Stanton, Hicks, Voit. That kind of probably 2 through 6. I love all of them.
And you kind of mentioned it when we were talking about pitchers, Arrieta, this is his first start. We don't know how stretched out they're really going to let him go. I would think a veteran like Arrieta, maybe a little bit longer leash than some young kid, but this could be a spot where you get a few runs on Arrieta in the first 4 innings and he's out, and you get the Phillies bullpen and you get all these Yankees bats cheap, and they can put up runs in bunches. So when I first glance at this slate, I like the Yankee stack as a different stack here.
Yeah, and I would say just in general, the Yankees are one of my favorite DFS teams every day just because of the power. I mean, every single guy in the whole lineup, 1 through 9, can hit a home run. There's not many teams like that, and especially if you just start getting random middle relief guys. So, yeah, absolutely.
All right, we move on. We got the Mets and the Braves, Jacob deGrom, Mike Soroka. Any interest here in Jacob the GOAT?
Yeah, I mean, I can't possibly not have interest in him every single time. The guy is great. But kind of like we talked about, it's just there's no way you're playing 2 aces today. And if you're only playing one, their prices are flip-flopped on the sites. One's a little more expensive than the other. I think you just play Cole. slightly prefer his matchup. I mean, DeGrom was awesome against the Braves on opening day, and he can always do that. But if I'm going to pay up, I think just give me Cole. I love DeGrom. He's amazing. But you still don't count on strikeouts the same way you do. Like, yeah, he'll get them, but not with the same, just no matter what, he's definitely going to get them. Like, he might decide to just get a bunch of soft ground balls. He'll do whatever he wants to do to get guys out, but I think just give me Cole.
Yeah, so like in tournaments here, if everyone has the same mindset and we open up, Christian Mino's lineup HQ projected ownership, and like we're seeing 4-1 Cole to DeGrom, like that makes Jacob DeGrom a lot more interesting too. So both of these pitchers, DeGrom and Cole, can strike out guys at will. So the other side, we got, one of the young arms for the Atlanta Braves that has shown a ton of promise, Mike Soroka. Cespedes out. This lineup takes a hit. Even though Cespedes had been striking out a little bit and he hadn't been hitting the ball a lot, like that, we're replacing Cespedes with probably maybe like a Dom Smith or somebody. What's your thoughts when it comes to Soroka here?
He's just one of those guys that's so great in real life.
Good real life pitcher.
So not great in DFS. Like it's weird how much these things matter. Like, I mean, he's a top pitcher just in real life baseball. But there's just no strikeouts. I mean, he's below average. A below average strikeout pitcher just loses so much value in DFS. And I mean, I'll say that the DraftKings pricing, like we said, is so tough. You may land on some lineup where you just can't possibly get up over 10K, but you don't quite need two cheaper guys. And so, like, sure, I guess I would take Soroka raw points over any of the like 7K guys. But if I need that salary, which I feel like I do, I don't want a low strikeout pitcher on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I end up on it, I don't hate it. I think he's a really good real life pitcher. This game has the lowest total on the slate for a reason. Like, two great arms here. Bats wise, is there anybody on either side, like outside of like some one-offs here? I don't think we're like stacking either one of these teams, right?
No, I mean, most days I like the Braves, but you don't stack against DeGrom unless you're just playing one of everybody in a 150. And on the Mets side, same problem with Soroka. Like, he's so good. I'll probably have Conforto at least in my tournament pool. That's about as deep as I'm going a one-off. Like, I won't X out guys like Alonso, but I don't see any reason to chase batters against Soroka. Maybe Conforto.
Yeah, like my problem is like if they had the Yankees discount, like they just don't. Like Freeman's expensive, Acuna's expensive, Alonso's expensive. Like even Conforto on this slate at 4,700, that's expensive on this slate. So like it's just tough for me to, and like Albie's, he's day to day right now dealing with a little bit of an injury. So like I just don't see myself using one-offs here. I like Freeman against DeGrom. He profiles really well against him. He hits him hard every time they play against each other. But outside of that, like I'm not paying 51 for 100 for Freeman against DeGrom on a slate where I'm struggling to find value. So,
yep.
Yeah, moving on. White Sox Brewers, Carlos Rodone against Brett Anderson. This is a barn burner here. Any interest in Carlos Rodone?
Oh, I really want to like him. I mean, I so badly want to like him. Like, this is a guy we've been trying to like since like 2015.
Yeah.
And I mean, he missed almost all last year, so it hardly counts. But I mean, his first start, it didn't look like he's back yet. But like, there's definitely talent in there. I feel like I'm going to throw a couple of darts at him, but I don't recommend it. It's one of those things. I'm probably going to do it, but I don't really think you should. But the Brewers are a beatable team. Like, there's just not – when you think about how good they were last year, and they're just not. I'm going to be taking a few shots on him just because I know the talent is in there, even though we haven't seen it yet.
Well, like you take Lorenzo Kane out because he opted out. You add Braun back to the lineup. He should be back in the lineup here, and like you're still facing a team that is going to strike out, and there's only like 2 or 3 power bats, and at 7K, when I'm just looking for ceiling type of arms, I think you have to have interest in tournaments. I don't think I would do it in a cash game format by any means, but I think in tournaments you're going to have to roll the dice on pitchers today just because of the way the pricing is. And I'm going to take a guy with a 28% K rate instead of a guy with a 17% K rate on this slate. So for those reasons, like we're going to talk about the bats, and I still kind of like some of these bats, but I think you have to have some interest in them. And like on the other side, like Brett Anderson, he's cheap too, but this is a guy with a 12% K rate. So which guy am I taking? I'm taking the guy with the 28% K rate. Do you have any interest in Anderson?
Anderson's totally off my list. Plus, the way the Brewers treat their starters, like we've got a low strikeout starter who won't even pitch that long. So yeah, definitely give me Rodone way ahead of Anderson. And there's a couple other pitchers right in the same price range that are ahead of him. So no, he'll be a cross off for me.
Let's talk bats here. White Sox. I think they're very much in play. I hate the fact on DraftKings we can't play Abreu and E5 together, but we just saw this team explode against a lefty a couple days ago against the Royals. This is a spot that I'm going right back to the well. McCann, Jimenez, Abreu, Moncada, Roberts if he bats leadoff. Like the White Sox are a team that I think you can 3 to 5 man stack on the slate, and they're not overly expensive. So I kind of think they might be popular on the slate too when you're wanting to pay up for like a Garrett Cole.
Yeah, so kind of anecdotally, like I feel like this is the team that benefited the most DFS contrarianism wise. I think that's a word.
We'll
Like
call it a word.
back in March, this was like the hot team that everyone was talking about because they improved so much over the offseason. And it's like people just kind of forgot about how much better they are. Like this is just a really good lineup, top to bottom. And they've been scoring runs too. I mean, certainly in Kansas City, they had fun, but I think they're one of the top teams here for sure. If you can kind of stay away from the end of the Brewers bullpen, you're in good shape. And like if they can just win the game and get Anderson out early, and never end up seeing Hader and those guys, I like them a lot.
Yeah, but like if you're stacking this team, you're hoping you get the bat in the bullpen because your team's scoring runs anyway. So,
Yep.
Like even in cash games, like some of these guys, Jimenez, 4K, he's been hitting the ball really well. This is a top prospect that we're starting to finally see, not strike out at a 30% clip right now. So we'll see where we're at in 60 games. But right now, I like the White Sox.
Yeah, and relative to the slate, they're, like you say, they're
yeah.
pretty affordable on DraftKings relative to a lot of other things.
Brewers side of things, like, I didn't even realize Ryan Braun went on a 10-day infected right finger index. I totally missed that. That happened on Sunday, and I don't play baseball on Sundays. So, man, that takes a huge hit to this lineup, right? Like, you're worried about Garcia. Yelich is just a good hitter in general, but, like, upside-wise, like, Pena is a cheap catcher maybe. Like, there's not a lot of bats I like here, and Pena's day-to-day. Like,
yeah, this team, I mean, when you think about how good they were last year, like, this was the team we wanted every day. They've got nothing. I mean, like, sure, Keston here and Yelich, but at their salaries, it's just weird. Like they're kind of tough to use. And then like the next best hitters on the team are Avisail Garcia and Justin Smoke. Sure, but no, give me the White Sox.
They have Healy down in AAA. Like this, maybe they call him up because they sent Braun on the IL, and like he's in the lineup here. He's notoriously good against lefties, but overall, I don't love this. I don't like the Brewers here. Like I would play Yelich on any slate, but not at 6K on this one.
Right? Yeah, he's probably not going to make the cut at all. Not because I don't like him, but this team in general is just really uninspiring right now.
Yeah, Braun being out definitely hurts too. Kane opting out, yeah. Pirates and Twins, Derek Holland against Lewis Thorpe. Derek Holland against Minnesota. I'm gonna probably pass on this one, Dave. I don't have any interest in Derek Holland.
I mean, the Twins are right there with the Yankees for, you don't probably need, like Coors Field can go 15-14. You might not need it because of the Twins and the Yankees. Now Holland still has his moments. He's not as terrible as he was like a couple of years ago. He was so far off his game that he was like a worst pitcher in the league kind of guy. He's really not a worst pitcher in the league kind of guy, but I mean, a lefty with fly balls and hard hits, and in his first start, his control wasn't there against the Twins. No.
And they're not Nelson Cruz is 4,500. He's probably the top play on the slate for me. I'm going to be disappointed in the morning if I don't see him tagged as a core play for you.
I think you're going to be safe on that. Yeah.
But we go to the other side. We have Lewis Thorpe here. He's not going to pitch deep. This is a guy that is a reliever that is making a spot start because was it Hughes or no, Homer Bailey. Bailey went on the IL. Odorizzi comes back later this week. Lewis Thorpe, 60 pitches max here, maybe 70. I'm not expecting too much here.
Yeah, he's had a couple 2-inning relief outings. He threw 40 pitches in one of them. I mean, he's got talent, but he's priced fully like a starter, and he's not a starter. Sure, he can go 4 innings, but he's too expensive for a guy they really don't want to use that long and can't use that long.
Yeah, if for some reason we got news that a pitch count of 85 came out or something, then I would seriously consider him because the matchup is good. Pittsburgh, they don't really have anybody outside of Josh Bell. We were just talking about with the Brewers, this team's struggling as far as talent right now.
Yeah.
Bats, anything on Pittsburgh here?
Part of the rest of the problem is the Twins have one of the better bullpens too.
Yeah.
They can, even if someone gets in trouble, they'll just pull them out and bring in somebody good. Bell, Moran, and Reynolds are a good little trio of hitters. I like to play some Pittsburgh when I can, just because nobody ever plays them. But like I said, I think Thorpe is talented. It's not I think they're going to do well against him in the few innings, and then the bullpen's good. So I'll be pretty deep into multi-entry before I get to Bell and Reynolds.
Yeah, the only I don't even feel because he's third base eligible. I was going to say Phillip Evans if he bats 4th or 5th here against the lefty, getting a couple of bats maybe against the lefty. But even Phillip Evans, you got to use him at third base. He's 2,600. There's a guy under 3K that we're going to talk about when we get to one of these later games that I like more than him. So I'm probably going to stay away from Pittsburgh on this slate. Stallings, if he catches, I always like cheap catchers. So, I'll throw his name out there. But Minnesota, we already kind of hinted towards it, but Nelson Cruz, 476 ISO against left-handed pitching since the start of last season. Derek Holland, 318 ISO against right-handed batters with a massive fly ball rate and a high hard hit rate. This is the matchup, you pay up for Cruz and Garver and Sano, and you just hope that they outscore Coors.
Yeah, these guys should be, given where everyone else is priced, these guys should be in that close $5,500 to $6,000 range. I love these guys, whether it's a full stack on their own, and I even really like playing, depending on what they do with the lineup, put the lefties in there and just assume they get Holland out of the game in a hurry. Even within twin stacks, Kepler and Rosario won't really be played. They'll probably give one of them a day off, just kind of the way they're doing things. But definitely give me Cruz, Garver, and Sano. Polanco's one of the better shortstops. I'm going to be using a ton of those guys. But if full stacking, I would throw one of the lefties in, just thinking that they get Holland out in 3 innings and then just go nuts. So I love this team overall. They're, like I say, right there with the Yankees. As if you're not doing cores, you get the same upside here.
Well, a couple other things I want to note here is Josh Donaldson's dealing with a little bit of calf injury. If he sits, Marwyn Gonzalez is actually a really decent hitter against left-handed pitching. He's 2,900. He's also a switch hitter, so I don't think we really have to worry about like a pinch hit risk for him at 2,900. So like he's someone that if he hits like 6th or 7th here, you could definitely, I think, consider him for cash games at this price.
Yeah, he and
Buxton
I don't
was
know if
the
Arias probably won't play being a lefty, but he's cheap. But yeah, Buxton is still Buxton. Super
yeah.
talented guy who even against Derek Holland he can strike out. But yeah, playing cheap guys on a team like this is ideal. So yeah, Marwyn's a good call. I'm assuming Donaldson's still out. So yeah, I like it.
Even if he's not, like Marwyn could still, draw a start for like Kepler or somebody here. So like just have to
Yeah.
watch and see when the lineups come out. But wanted to know him at 2,900. We move on. We got the Royals and the Cubs, Danny Duffy, Alec Mills. It's the night before. Like I always say, we record the night before. I always pull up the Wrigley weather and Cheese. We're going to have to see what Roth has to say, but we're looking at 17 to 20 mile an hour winds blowing in from left field in this game in Chicago. So when we're looking for some pitching value, does that make Danny Duffy any more interesting here?
It really does. Yeah, he's another one of those guys. Like he's really not that bad. I mean, a couple of years ago, we were thinking he was going to be pretty good, and his career got derailed a few times. But he's a decent pitcher. I mean, he struck out 8. I mean, it was the Tigers, but he struck out 8 guys. And he's another one of those. It's kind of a fly ball lefty. If the wind is blowing in like that in Wrigley, yeah. I mean, Chris Bryant may be out again. I like him way more than I want to like him. Assuming I saw the same thing, so I'm glad you said that. I'm expecting it looks like the wind is blowing in and pretty hard. Yeah, I'm almost certainly going to have Duffy as one of my higher owned pitchers, which I don't love it, but that's what the slate has given me.
Yeah, I think the same is going to be said for Alec Mills. When we're looking at this price range, I think Alec Mills is, one of the better options under 10K. I was actually a little shocked that he threw 77 pitches against Cincinnati in his first start. And like, he was efficient with those 77 pitches, like 6 innings. He's not going to go out and light the world on fire with strikeouts, but like, give me 7 clean innings here. And on this slate at 8K, I'll take it.
Yep. He's another guy that, I mean, we haven't seen enough of him in the majors to know, but he looks like essentially an average pitcher. He's not terrible. Probably going to be a decent ground ball guy. Had good control in the minors. I like both these pitchers. Assuming that this wind is correct and it's coming in like that, I'm going to play both pitchers in this game. I'll play them both in the same lineup.
Yeah, like obviously we're gonna have to wait and see what Roth has to say. That we're looking at stuff the night before and weather changes in an hour, not just the night before. So if the wind is blowing in, what we're seeing, like even if the wind isn't blowing in, I still like Mills for what it's worth. But I like both of these guys a lot more if the wind is blowing in.
Or pretty much just as long as it's not blowing out. I think they're going to be usable.
Yep, I agree with you. Anything on the Royals bats that you like here?
So for, the same problem. So the wind is going to hurt the bats, but still, I mean, I do kind of want to like something here. Like the Royals are a pretty good team. Obviously we had Royals chalk week last night because of all the salaries. But there's some good hitters here. But if we're right about that wind, like I don't want to be playing a guy that you're counting on a home run for. Like Soler is still only 4,200 on DraftKings, which I think is still too cheap for him. So sure, he's on my list. I like him. But I'm not going to chase these guys for the same reason that I'm probably just leaning pitchers here.
Yeah, Mondesi fouled a pitch off his leg and was removed from Sunday's game. They said it was just to be on the careful side of things. But if he's out, like I have interest in Mondesi if he's in the lineup. Maybe not, like if he's dealing with a little bit of a leg injury because I want the stolen base upside. The guy that I wanted to bring up here was Alex Gordon. He's 3,100. With the wind blowing in from left, I feel like a lefty might not be affected as much. It's still going to be affected because it's Wrigley. But at 3,100, give me a couple hits. I don't even need a home run at 3,100 on this slate. So just wanted to mention Alex Gordon.
Yeah, I was going to say Gordon and McBroom are so cheap that, and they could be batting. And if Mondesi's out, like they could both be batting top four or five or six. And on this slate, right, you don't need a home run from a 3K batter. So I'm fine with just throwing one in.
You guys will understand what we're saying when you start building lineups. Like, pricing is really tough on this one. Cubs bats, it is a lefty, but like, we're gonna get a lot of righties here. If the wind's blowing in that much from left field, like, it's gonna be tough. Some of these guys are cheap. Do you have any interest in the Cubs?
Maybe this is like, if not even wind blowing out, if it was sort of neutral, I'd be looking for some of these cheap guys. Like, I like the price on even like Baez at 4,800, but I don't see myself really going there. And really, this team, they're just not as good as you want them to be. And we don't know. I mean, Chris Bryant should be back soon, but he's not really a guy I'm playing for the same. He's the same, like 4,800. It's fine, but I'm not inspired. David Bodie hit leadoff on Sunday, but I mean, he's up to 3,500, so it's not amazing. I might really just be looking pitchers here.
Yeah, like, I don't love this one. Brian, I don't know if he has to test 2 more times or 1 more time, 1 more negative test, like, because it was illness and like that's the Major League Baseball protocol. But yeah, we'll have to see. All right, we move on. We got the Giants and the Rockies. Do you have any interest in Chichi Gonzalez or Johnny Cueto? Like, are we just skipping over these guys really quick?
I mean, I'm definitely don't have interest in Chichi Gonzalez. I'm not actually going to say that you're not allowed to consider playing a DraftKings $5,100 Johnny Cueto. But the problem is, this is still not Johnny Cueto yet. Like, I think we're probably still looking at a 4-inning pitcher, and it's in Coors Field, and he's not. If this was 2016 Johnny Cueto, I would be dumb to say I would lock him in. I would play him all the time. But he did throw 87 pitches in the last start. It didn't go long because he didn't pitch that well. I'm almost like trying to talk myself out of playing any Johnny Cueto, but I can almost guarantee you I will have a lineup with Johnny Cueto simply because of that salary. And you can just get lucky. I will just be hoping he gets lucky. But officially, I mean, no, he's a terrible play. Like, he should go negative.
Let's start with the Giants bats. I have no comment on Johnny Cueto. I have zero interest.
I just want to, I feel like I got to say, because someone's going to see me with a lineup with Johnny Cueto, and if I don't say that I'm going to play him, they'll be like, "Hey, man, you played Johnny Cueto." But I mean, the lineup will be in last place, so I don't know why they would care.
Yeah, Giants bats. We'll start with them. Like, they're all really, really good plays. I think the one that I wanted to highlight the most was probably Brandon Belt under 5K against Chichi Gonzalez. What are your thoughts when you're looking at the Giants here?
Yeah, I mean, Chichi Gonzalez should not have ever really been a major league pitcher. His numbers, like, everywhere, are just crazy bad. Like, in the minors, he was able to get ground balls, but he can't do anything. Like, he's just a bad pitcher in the majors. And the Giants are better than we thought they were going to be. Yeah, Belt was the one to me, price wise, that jumped out. Like, Yaz being up at 5,900 it's not crazy, but it's weird. And Dickerson's over 5K. So ideally, I don't want to just be jamming in a bunch of $5,000 Giants bats. But Belt is up there. I don't think this is a must stack because of teams like the Twins and the Yankees who could do it with home runs, and maybe this team only gets 1 or 2 home runs and it's a bunch of singles. And even in cash games, I don't know if you want to do 2, like the 2 pitchers in the Cubs game, so you can get Giants bats and cash. I don't really love that idea. I I think I'd rather play a good pitcher and not worry about these bats in cash.
Yeah, like my issue with like playing these guys in cash games, the Twins are just so cheap. Like I just know that like I'm gonna prefer the Twins most of the time here, but we'll have to see when we get lineups coming out if there's like a chalk value guy or something like that that stands out. But right now, like Yaz at 5,900, like I love Yaz. I think he is definitely showing a ton of promise. He's a fly ball guy in cores. And Brandon Belt stands out. Brandon Crawford's 4,400. He's pretty cheap. If for some reason that Duggar draws a better lineup spot, maybe you look at him. But yeah, like it's tough to fit these guys in, but they are, good plays. Gigi Gonzalez. And then we go to the Rocky side of things. Like they're expensive outside of Matt Kemp. Like they just refuse to raise the price on Matt Kemp. Like it's not the greatest matchup for Matt Kemp, but $3,800 Matt Kemp, and he's been hitting the ball really well over the last couple of days. Like it's hard not to consider him here under 4K.
Yeah, I don't know. You never know what they're going to do with their lineup. Like, I was surprised he played on Sunday. And I keep thinking, well, I don't know if he's going to play. But, yeah, as long as he does, you play a $3,800 guy who still has power at cores. And then I feel like you can fit, like Blackman and Dahl are pretty tough to fit, but you can get like McMahon and Murphy if you need to get some exposure. Would you do? I think just as far as with the pricing factored in, if I'm going to pick out a bat for this game for cash games or sort of a first like single entry tournament, it would probably be a Rocky. Like I'd rather pay that 57 for Blackman than like a Dickerson or Yaz. I'd probably rather play McMahon or Murphy than like Brandon Crawford. Like they're all in the same price range. Yeah. So I guess I slightly prefer the Rockies lefties here. And then, I mean, Arenado and Story are not going to be sneaky or under-owned, but I'm not sure that anyone here can be just mega chalky because of the salaries. Like they're so expensive as they should be. And everyone's going to naturally kind of take the lefties first. So sure, I like them. But I don't like them any more than the Twins or the Yankees.
All right, move on. We got the Dodgers and the Padres. Walker Buehler, Chris Paddock. This is another game that has a really low total on this slate. Walker Buehler, when we're looking at like arms that are aces, Walker Buehler's an ace in my opinion. He did not look great, and he only threw 56 pitches in his first starts. It's the Dodgers. When we get these young guys, like I think like 85 is probably like your high expectation for him to pitch in this game.
Yeah, and he threw like less than 60 in that first start, and partly because it was Houston. But yeah, I think he tops out at 80, and I would think 70 is probably even more likely. And he's not that much cheaper than Cole and DeGrom. I mean, it's a relevant amount, but like on DraftKings, it's $700 to Cole. I don't think it's even remotely close. There's just too short of a leash on Buehler right now. I love him. I mean, he's great, but no, give me Cole every day of the week. And I'm not even sure that Buehler, because of what I think his pitch count is that much better than Soroka when factoring in the salaries. So I'm just be waiting for a different slate, and once we see him stretched out before I get too excited about him.
Yeah, there's a report that says 70 to 80 pitches in this start. So like at 10K on this slate, I'll punt catcher with like a cheap catcher and play Cole over Buehler or something. Like I can't do it. The other side, Chris Paddock, I'm a huge fan of Chris Paddock. I think like this is a kid that has a ton of talent. I don't play pitchers, especially right-handed pitchers, against the Dodgers. I don't care who it is. Where do you beat them? They don't hit the ball soft. They don't strike out, and they all walk and make pitchers work. Like I like Paddock in general. I think he's a great pitcher, but it's the Dodgers, and like I just can't do it.
Yeah, I would say so. When I first opened up the slate on DraftKings and started messing around, the Chris Paddock salary is the thing I'm most impressed about on the whole slate with DraftKings. Yeah. Like they made him cheap enough that you can't just not consider him. Like he's as good as like he's better than Soroka. He's basically in between Buehler and Soroka talent-wise. Like he's it's four aces. It's DeGrom, Cole, Buehler, and Paddock, but he's priced down barely above Anderson. They did a great job of making you have to think about it, but I'm with you that these Dodgers against righties are just so good. Like everything just has to go his way just perfectly. I love the salary. I love the talent, but yeah, give me a worse pitcher, not against the Dodgers.
He would have paid this price off in one of 4 starts against the Dodgers last year. So, like, if you're playing those odds on this slate, it's not the worst thing to think about. But it's also in the middle of the season. Like, this would be his 3rd start. 89 pitches in his last start. And they let him face a batter where I was watching that game. I was like, all right, I think he was at 84. I was like, oh, they're probably going to pull him here. He's in a little bit of trouble. And they let him go out and get that out. So, maybe 95 here at 7,600. Like if you're playing 150, I think you play him and you have him in your pool. But outside of that, like if you're playing like a 3-entry max or even like a 20-entry max, I don't see him beating the Dodgers. Like the Dodgers lineup was excellent and it got better this offseason. So it's really tough to beat the Dodgers.
I guess the one thing we should point out, this again, it's Sunday night. Like Mookie Betts may have gotten injured. Like he has a swollen finger and the x-rays were negative. There's a chance he doesn't play.
Seager was banged up too, wasn't he?
Yeah, like as of now, it says could return Monday is like the news. If they don't have Seager or Betts, I give him a little bit. I still hate the matchup. But I would move him into like I would play him in a 20 max.
Yeah, it would really like if it's like Pollock Taylor, like that adds 2 right-handed strikeout guys. So like you're obviously gonna have to look at the lineup when it comes out. Like even Kiki is a guy that strikes out more against righties. So if the lineup comes out, Mookie's out, Seager's out, I'm more willing to take a shot. Yes, but I'm with you. I think it's more like a 20-entry max play.
So he'll definitely be in my MME pool, but. Yeah, he's a righty against the Dodgers. That's the whole story.
Yeah, we don't have to get into it too much. Like you look at the walk rates and everything for the Dodgers against right-handed pitching for the last 2 years, it's just crazy. So, Dodgers bats. Do you have any interest in the Dodgers here against Paddock?
Yeah, because the thing about Paddock is like as absolutely fantastic as he is against righties, he's still pretty much just an average pitcher against lefties at this point. Like he's going to get better, but right now he's really not anything that special against lefties. So guys like Bellinger and Muncy, if Seager plays, absolutely, I will be playing those guys.
Yeah, like I could see like a 3 to 5 man stack for the Dodgers here.
And then we might get, so if we lose the Seager and Betts, like it might be like Rios and Beatty. Which I didn't look at their salaries. I would assume they're cheap. Oh,
super cheap.
Rios is 2,600.
And Beatty is 25.
So those guys would be very useful salary savers if either one of them's in the lineup.
Yeah. The Dodgers overall, I think they're like the 3rd or 4th price team on the slate, and we know like they can break any slate. So, on the other side, the Padres, like Buehler's good, Dodgers bullpen's good. I'm a fan of the Padres. I think they're a strong young team, but it's probably not the slate for me.
Yeah, it's a weird slate for them. Like you say, they've been very good. I think they're legit, but they're kind of leftovers for 150 lineups. Like I don't think you need to be thinking too hard about them.
Yeah, and Hosmer went down too, so like they lost him, but. Like I'm a huge fan of Gresham. I'll keep saying it.
He looks good.
He's impressing me a lot at the plate, and like any dude that hits a massive home run, then gets up his next at bat and lays down a bunt, like I'm a fan, just as a baseball fan.
And he's been continually cheap on FanDuel. I didn't look at tomorrow's price. I assume he is. I don't really, like I say, I don't really want Padres, but
no,
I agree with you. I think he's good.
It was more of like fanboy, and Manny Machado's 3K on FanDuel. But anyway, moving on. Last game on the slate, we got the Athletics and Mariners. Frankie Montas against Justice Sheffield. Dave, I see it coming. Montas is going to be uber chalk on the slate, and
yeah,
you know, cash game wise, plug him in my opinion. In tournaments, like there's a strong argument to playing him even at high ownership on this slate, I think. But there's always that like leverage that you can create with, maybe taking a shot on Mills or somebody instead.
Yeah, so this is the one I'm most interested to see kind of where the chatter is, where the projected ownership is. He's like last year was great. He broke out, everything looked great. But I mean, he's been really good for, I don't know, 13, 14 starts in his
Yeah.
life. And he was expected to be good, but we don't really know that this guy is great. And his first two starts have been kind of like his control has been iffy. It looks fine, but not great. If we're looking at a guy that's 50% owned and Danny Duffy is 20% owned, I prefer Danny Duffy. Play Montas and cash. Like he'll make the most sense. I would assume in most projection models they'll give him to you points per dollar, and I get it. Chris Paddock is a better pitcher than Montas. Of course, you want your guy in Seattle, but that's the whole point. So does everybody. Even the Carlos Rodone thing, basically same salary, similar strikeout upside, just raw ability. His matchup is not that much worse. Of course, Montas is the play, I think, on DraftKings. I'm not saying he's not. But I don't think he's that much better than that whole tier of Mills, Paddock, Montas, Duffy that are all more or less the same salary.
Yeah, and like I said, I think he's going to come out like everybody knows Seattle. They strike out a ton. Like they have a ton of strikeouts in this lineup, like 27% or something like that against right-handed pitching since the start of last season. So like we know that Montas is going to be popular here. And like I said, for good reason. Like, I agree with the reasoning. He's cheap. Like this is a guy I wish he was like 8,500 and it could potentially keep his ownership down a little bit, but it's not. On the other side of things, Justice Sheffield, I actually kind of like the Athletics here. I don't really have a ton of interest in Sheffield until like he can show me he can put together like 5 strong innings in like back-to-back starts or something, because what we're seeing so far is this a lot of hype for Justice Sheffield right now.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's supposed to be good, and I'm sure that he will be. But it could be 2 more years before he's good. Like he's just not doing it. His first start, he walked 4 guys in 3 innings. That's where like I'm not sure that I might play Johnny Cueto ahead of him.
I think I would play
that.
I don't know if I could do that, but
yeah.
I don't want to play either one of them.
That's not correct. That's not the correct thing to say. Don't play these guys. Please don't play Johnny Cueto and say that I said to. No, I want some Oakland Power Bats before I want Sheffield.
Let's talk Oakland Power Bats. Oakland's expensive, and they are going to be sub 10, maybe sub 5% owned on a 8-game slate on DraftKings anyway, because they're so expensive. Like you're paying up for Laureano, you're paying up for Semien, you're paying up for Chapman, Kana, you're paying up for. I'll let you give me your thoughts, but before you do, Chad Pinder is probably one of my favorite plays on the slate at 2,900. Like I probably will play him in cash games on the slate at second base.
Yeah, he's going to jump out. Like people are kind of familiar with playing him as a cheap guy. Like he was a thing for a while last year too, is that everybody played him as their cheap guy. He's got talent and he can hit a home run. So yeah, I think he's going to be very useful on this slate. Definitely cash game viable.
Like my argument for him is like if you're not paying up for like Muncy or one of the Coors guys, like there's nobody really in that like low 4 up 3 range outside of maybe LeMahieu that like I like. So going down all the way to Pinder, I'm biased. This guy's won me a ton of money. So like I'm biased, but like I always play him against lefties. He's always produced against lefties, and like I think that he's definitely usable here. But listen, the A's are going to be low owned. Cheese, like they're so expensive, and like this game's in Seattle. It's not the best spot for like hitting, but why not? Like I'm looking at like teams that are going to be low owned that can produce. This is a team.
So this is one of those teams that I'm make myself a note in the morning. No matter what happens and how dumb the lineup looks, I'm going to have a lineup with Olsen, Chapman, and Canna.
Yeah.
Like it's especially Olsen, like the lefty lefty. Given what else is on this slate, they'll be just so crazy low owned for a team with that much power against a bad pitcher and a bad bullpen. So I'm totally with you. Pinder will get plenty of attention, but yeah, all those other guys, it will not. Is Laurie? Yeah, Laureano's 5,400. I mean, it looks goofy, but that's what they call a late night hammer, Stevie.
Yes, just don't play Crush Davis. Like he is so uninterested in baseball this season. I've
His
watched him hit a
name
couple
is
of times.
clearly Chris Davis now. He has earned his name.
Like it's bad. We talked about Gary Sanchez. This guy's 1 for 21 with 10 Ks on the season. Like Chris Davis is off to a really, really cold start. Like he needs a couple of days off, in my opinion, but I'm not the coach of the Athletics. So
I can, I'll text him and tell him that's what you think.
all right, I appreciate that. Like move Piscotty up in the lineup and give me a guy that, wants to play baseball right now. So, listen, Cheese, I don't love Seattle. I like Montas, but like if we're gonna see a guy 40 to 50% owned on a slate, is there a cause to potentially look at stacking Seattle just to gain like massive leverage, even if it's like a 3-man?
So Seattle's really not as terrible as everyone wants them to be. Like there's a few decent hitters on this team, and we never know exactly how their lineup will look. But I mean, yes, I think you can play at least a couple. I assume they're cheap. Yeah, Kyle Lewis at $3,700, Nola, a $2,800 catcher that's actually decent.
And he hits up towards the top of the lineup too.
Yeah, so I don't know if like they haven't been feeling the need to play Dan Vogelbach, which they shouldn't, but I hope they do. Make sure there's nothing wrong with him that I don't know about.
There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
except
he
for
just
the
doesn't
fact that he
play 'em.
doesn't want to. He doesn't want to hit balls far this year for some
Yeah,
reason.
like I mean, he hasn't. I don't think he's touched the ball yet this year. He might have one hit, but like that dude has power. And he like guys like Shed Long is he's a pretty good baseball player. He's not an exciting fantasy player, but yes, I think you can play some Mariners based on the salary. There'd be a good like fill-in secondary stack if you're trying to do a Rocky stack or a Giant stack or something that's so expensive and you just got to get something in there. Particularly Nola and Lewis kind of stand out to me.
Like Blender likes to say, it's one of those garbage stacks, so dumpster stacks, whatever he calls them. I can't even remember right now, but all right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. Let's get it started off here. Give me a guy under 8K pitching wise to get 6 or more strikeouts on the slate.
Under 8K, 6 or more strikeouts. There's actually a few that I like. I'm not going to go with Johnny Cueto. I do not believe he's going to get you 6 strikeouts. I'm going to go with Rodone, actually.
That's who I was going to take. Took my guy. I'm not going to take Chalk Montas. I hate taking Chalk. Give me God, if Paddock wasn't pitching against the Dodgers, I would totally take Paddock, but give me Danny Duffy because I know I'm going to play him, so I'm going to root for him to get 6 or more strikeouts. I don't even want him to get 6 or more strikeouts. Give me 5 clean innings at this price.
Yeah.
Give me an expensive guy over 8K to go under 15 DraftKings points on the slate.
I mean, the obvious one is like I'm not going to count Thorpe because he's a reliever, essentially. And even I'm going to say Walker Buehler because I'm going to say he just doesn't quite pitch long enough and he doesn't pitch great. San Diego makes it hard enough on him.
Yeah, that was the guy that I was going to take too. I'm with you. I'm not going to take Thorpe. I think Cole and DeGrom both get over 15. I think out of the remaining options, I like Sorka, but I think he is the least likely of the group to get under 15. It's tough on smaller slates when we don't have a ton of options up here, but
yeah.
Over 4K, not in cores that hit a home run. Who do you got?
There's a lot of them tonight.
There's a bunch of them.
We'll go just somewhere. We'll go a little off the board with it. I'm like a couple of them are so obvious that like it doesn't even seem fair. I'll go with Mark Canha.
I like that one. As we were recording, Judge hit another home run, which made 2 for today. So 6 home runs in 5 games. Like, be crazy not to take him. I'm not going to take him though. I'm going to say Sano. Again, like I'm really heavy on the Twins today. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who do you got? That was my internet. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who do you got?
Okay, I didn't know if I disappeared there.
The tropical storm is like right off the coast of Daytona right now, and we haven't been affected by it at all. So like I got a little nervous that like maybe something happened, but good to go.
Yeah, under 4K for 2 hits. Let me scroll down here a little bit. Try to look for something a little weirder. I would say Brett Gardner.
All right. Let's see. Gardner. I'm gonna go with, I hope he plays, Marwyn Gonzalez. If Marwyn Gonzalez doesn't play, give me Chad Pinder. Give me a stack to score 6 or more runs today. Who do you have?
You know what? I know who you want to say is a sneaky one. I'm going to say Seattle as the very sneaky one.
I feel like I have planted my flag with the Twins in this game. I'm going to take Minnesota. I was thinking about taking Oakland, but I'm going to take Minnesota. I'm going to keep my flag planted. I'm very heavy on the Twins today. So can tell you guys already when you open up Lineup HQ tomorrow, I do GPP stacks, and the Twins will be one of them. So
I'll have at least one Twin tagged on the core as well. Yeah.
All right, finish this off here, Cheese. Give me an against the spread or over under that's standing out to you to keep our sharp side bets going here. Trying to pull up the odds really quick.
Let me see. I didn't actually look at the.
I've been terrible about it. I've been recording earlier than I usually do with the morning grind for baseball, and I haven't been pulling the odds up. That's on me, but Yankees, Phillies are at 9. Yankees are a huge favorite at 360. Mets, Braves are at 8. Mets are a slight favorite at 132. No over-under in the Cubs game yet. Coors is at 13. Rockies a slight favorite at 148. Dodgers at 7.5. Dodgers minus 136. And then the Athletics are over-under 9. And Oakland is favored by 186.
Okay, so I would say over in the Oakland-Seattle game. I was interested if there's a Cubs Royals. They wouldn't have a total yet, but I would be interested in the Royals if they're a underdog of any reasonable.
They're
length.
plus 138 for what it's worth.
I'd like it a little more, but I do kind of like the Royals.
I'm going to take Atlanta against DeGrom plus 114 today. Money line on that one. So I don't think I'm going to lock that in for my sharp side one today. I think my streak's at like 2 or 3. So I'll have a lock on Tuesday. I don't like any of these today as a lock. So Dave, it's been fun, man. It's been a while since we worked together. It's always great talking anything with you, but it's been fun talking some baseball. Appreciate you joining us. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, this is going to be a fun slate. I like when it's tough to build, and I think we found a few good value plays already, but keep an eye on those lineups because there's a lot of question marks this year in general, but it could be some really useful value plays out there.
Yeah, I think we're going to see value come and go all season. We could potentially see like a cheap Mets batter. I know they traded for Billy Hamilton after the Cespedes thing today, but like he probably won't be in the lineup. But you know, there's going to be every day. There's going to be guys in and out of lineups because like even if you get any kind of like illness or anything, like you're out. So that's going to wrap it up here for Monday. Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. We'll be back talking some more baseball tomorrow. Good luck in your contests, and we'll see you then.